Our next honoree is Lenny Mendonca, the chairman of the McKinsey Global Institute. And Lenny has been and is an extremely active CED trustee. John Burns Jr. will present Lenny with CED's Trustee Leadership Award. John is the chairman of the Allegheny Corporation, which is a diversified financial services and holding company where he has served since 1968. Most of that time as its senior leader, as president, COO, CEO, and chairman. John began his career in the financial sector, starting at Goldman Sachs and then joining New York Securities Company. He has served on several corporate boards and is currently a director of Superior Carriers as well as Allegheny. I know that John and Lenny are close colleagues and have worked together on many, many projects. John shares the deep appreciation that CED has for Lenny and the McKinsey team, and we are honored that he is here with us tonight. John?
This is really a hard act to follow, to tell you the truth, but here goes anyway. My name is John Burns, and as described, I'm chairman and retired CEO of Allegheny Corporation, and I can't really express how pleased I was to be asked to introduce Lenny Mendonca, whom I've known for so many years and who's been such a huge part of our organization. Allegheny Corporation, symbol Y on the New York Stock Exchange, is now an insurance holding company started in 1929 as a railroad holding company. We've been in many businesses during the last 42 years, which I've been with the company. Large interests in several railroads, too numerous to mention right now, savings banks, steel, both carbon and stainless, industrial minerals, coal, insurance, life, property and casualty and title insurance, mutual funds, and investment management. Lenny, as our key advisor, has been a most important part of this. While a bit boastful, our market record over the past 40 years has gone, with our distributions counted, from $12 a share to over $3,400 a share over that 40 years. If you have your calculators, it's about 18.5%. Not quite Warren Buffett, but not too bad. Lenny, as a key advisor, has been a most important part of all this. A story demonstrating the key to Lenny's can-do attitude would follow. It might not sound like that big a deal, but believe me, it was a big deal for us at the time. Our policy is to make very large investments in only a few companies. On one occasion, we identified a particularly attractive company for our investment, but we really needed help in due diligence. Even though we knew the business, there was an awful lot of unanswered questions. When I asked Lenny for help, he said, "Firm is conflicted, but let me see what I can do." Lenny then went literally around the world to Holland, Canada, and Australia to get his firm's experts, knowledgeable in this industry, but not conflicted, to help us. We invested a third of our net worth based on his advice, and our eventual profit was over $1 billion. Big deal for us, not that big deal based on some of the numbers I've seen thrown around tonight. We could not have done what we did without Lenny, and we really would honestly not be the company we are today without Lenny's invaluable help. While I could go on much longer, my time is limited, but this may give you but a small view of the regard that we have for this wonderful human being, Lenny Mendonca. Thank you very much for the honor of introducing Lenny.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, John. One of the joys of being an advisor is the privilege with which you have the opportunity to advise terrific leaders, and it's been a great pleasure being a small part of your success for the last 20 years, so thank you very much, John. I'm honored to accept this Trustee Leadership Award tonight, and I'm particularly pleased at the title of being a Trustee Leadership. One of the pieces of work that we examined in the last while on behalf of CED was looking at why it was that some people were involved, some executives were involved in public leadership and some weren't. We found that the vast majority of executives in the United States, fully 95% of them, felt it was a totally appropriate role for executives to be involved in public leadership. In fact, 45% of them said that it was the role of business leaders to be very actively leading on public issues. But in fact, only 15% of them were. A full gap of 30% of executives in the United States that we think are latent leaders, those who understand and appreciate the importance of public leadership but are not involved. And so I'm particularly pleased to be part of an organization that acknowledges that importance of leadership. I'm particularly grateful to McKinsey, who's been deeply supportive of its values and cultures of reinforcing the value of public leadership. I'm grateful to my wife, Christine, who now knows what it's like to fly in a red-eye from the West Coast to come to an event in New York, so thank you, Christine. And particularly appreciative of my colleague, Andy Whitehouse, who actually did all of the work involved with what we've been involved with at CED, so thanks, Andy. I'm particularly humbled to be honored along with great leaders like Jim Rohr, Dean Kamen, Bill Weldon, and A.G. Lafley, who exhibit what it means to be a role model for a public leader. One of the most important things we found, and what the difference between those who were involved and weren't, was that they were involved in supportive cultures with leaders and a network of people who reinforced the value. And these gentlemen tonight really reinforced the importance of that leadership in their companies, their organizations, and their personal engagement. So I'm humbled to be part of that group. And lastly, I'm excited to be part of an organization like CED that from its founding after the end of World War II, when we were in the most profound, challenged business environment of the last 100 years, which we may be approaching today, that really said that it's not appropriate to just sit back and watch what happens, but it's essential that those of us who happen to be in the privilege of leadership, particularly in the business sector, to step forward and to provide that leadership. CED did it in the end of World War II in helping create the Marshall Plan, and it's important in today's world that those of us who happen to be in a position of leadership take that kind of initiative and step forward. The last element that we found that was important for those who were actually involved was that they had an organization and a set of support to enable them to have the platform to have impact with what they're doing. And so I'm excited to be part of a trustee for CED that has helped create that kind of platform for impact. Thank you.